Okay, so my grapple that I have on the front of the tractor, which is not on right now, has been running off of rear remotes, and they were coming off from back here running underneath the tractor. They were actually ran through that little foot pedal bracket underneath there, which was causing my pedal to hang up a little bit, and strapped up, come up the loader arm and attached to the, just were hanging in the front. And I wanted to go to a true third function kit. So I bought the Kioti third function kit. I think I'll be able to handle it. I went ahead and mounted the this bracket here. That was a no-brainer. And I mounted that bracket there, no-brainer, because those things were obvious. But the rest of the stuff I'm going to try to do in order. And so far, like I said, I haven't done it in order yet, but we're going to do the rest of it in order. And the reason why I wanted to get a true Kioti third function kit is because we got this flail mower, which has two pistons, one here, hydraulic cylinders. And so I needed my rear remotes to operate this implement, or attachment. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is because there are times when using these levers here to operate the front grapple, which I have parked over in the woods right there, would be a little tricky. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get a true third function, and we're going to try to install that today. I'm going to put this video together in pieces as I go and fill you in on my experiences. Okay, so for step one, it says remove the rear tire on the right side of the tractor to connect the hydraulic hoses to the hydraulic valve of the tractor. And to remove the fender of the tractor, loosen the existing 9 bolts and 2 nuts as shown in the figure. When assembling the third function kit to the CK tractors, refer to pages 1 and 2, parts layout of all steps. Okay, so we've detached the rear flail mower, and we're going to proceed with removing this tire. Now, ideally, I'd have a nice level ground spot, but this is what I've got to work with right here. I don't have a nice concrete shop floor, so we'll be doing this out here, and I'm gonna throw some cardboard and plywood underneath it to try to catch anything that I drop. Okay, so I've got my cardboard in place. I've got some blocks that we're gonna put the rear axle on this side, and my cheater pipe to break these nuts loose. Okay, so I jacked my tractor up just slightly on the right side of that tow bar pin, and I've got some blocks that I'll lower it down on once I get the tire removed. And you can see here I'm just taking these nuts off, and we'll just roll the tire to the side. So that's where we are right now, just loosening these up. Excuse the quality of the video, just trying to show you the various steps. Well, believe it or not, that wasn't that bad. So now we're just going to lower the jack onto these blocks of wood for a physical instead of a hydraulic hold. You can see it drop down. So we are good now, and proceed to the next step. That was actually pretty simple. Okay, so it says next, to remove the fender, loosen the existing 9 bolts and the 2 nuts as shown in the figure. So here is the figure. Okay, so up here you need to disconnect this plug here for your rear blinker, and also pull these out. Green goes to red and black goes to black. So that way when you take this panel off, you don't tear up your wiring. Okay, so these plugs that I just talked about had to go through those 2 holes. There was a rubber gasket there. You just pop it out and it slips through. Okay, so now the fender is off. Wiring harness for the lights are out of the way, and we'll proceed to the next step. So there's our fender with our bolts and our tire. Things are going good. Okay, so next it says remove the existing hydro pipe A first, because it will be an obstacle to remove existing pipe B. So that's existing hydro pipe A. and this is existing hydro pipe B. So B is above A. So here's A and here's B. This is the top of A right there. And so B is going to be right here. So if we look at the tractor, here is A, and then B is right above it. And so the B goes up diagonally up to the top through this, behind that linkage there. That stuff's all in the way, so excuse me, but that's the top of B. There's the bottom of B. That's the bottom of B. And there's the top of B. And then here's A. If we're going to remove A, it says. Okay, then it says loosen the existing bolts. It says in the first procedure, remove the ring pin. So the ring pin. There's your ring pin right there. Okay. We'll put this in a bag. I'll put it right here actually. And then first procedure, remove the ring pin. Then loosen the existing bolts on both sides of the existing hydro pipe A to remove the existing hydro pipe A. So we're going to have to loosen this bolt here and this bolt above right there. Right there. So they're going to loosen that bolt and then this bolt. Okay, so for me to get to the top of this A over here, I have to come in through here, and my socket is just barely short. Now, in the pictures, in every single tractor, I've noticed that this top hydraulic line right here was pointed off this direction, and mine's pointed this direction, which makes all these so really tight. So I'm actually going to remove this and put it back at this angle like it is in the picture and see if that provides me with a little slack. And then that'll allow me to also turn this one a little steeper so it won't be coming over my filter here, which is something else that I've noticed that really seems to be atypical. So does that matter? No, but I'm going to get this arrangement of hoses lined up a little bit better so I have the clearance to reach into that bolt. Okay, so I've changed the orientation of these hydraulic lines, and it makes a difference on multiple things, and I'm going to point those out. Now, it's my understanding, I can't swear this is true, but it's my understanding that the dealers actually mount the front end loaders to these tractors, and so if that's true, then the dealer would have mounted these, and the orientation did actually matter. When they also had my lines ran through this bracket here, which in my opinion was not a good idea because it would actually cause my steps to sometimes stick a little bit, and I noticed it was rubbing on one of my lines here. I'm not sure which one it is, but one of these lines has a little bit of wear on it. So when I put this bracket on, I pulled the hoses out of this sock and took them out of that step. But to keep them from snagging, I can easily pop them up in there and put a zip tie on the back side, and they'll still be elevated without hitting my hydraulic pedal. The other thing is, now I've got enough gap in here that I can actually fit this wrench in here and get on that bolt. Barely, but I'm on it. So this is going to eliminate that problem just by having these hoses orientated the right direction. Okay, so I got that front, let's see if we can find it here in the camera. I got that front bolt off right there. You go, you can barely see it between those two right there. That's it, got it out. Now this one here is pretty darn snug. We've got a 19mm wrench on it, so I actually am gonna have to try to put a pipe on there or something. It will not come loose. Well, I'm gonna crank on it and see what happens. My pipe won't fit, so I'll just pull a little harder and break that free. Of course, lefty loosey. I don't know if my alignment there is good. Hopefully it'll work. There we go. May have been painted on, I don't know. It actually came off easier than I thought. I snugged on it a little bit, but I only did it with one hand the first time, and it was tight. But there, it's coming off pretty easy, so my bad. was not too tight. I didn't need a pipe. So that's good when things work well. So this should allow me to remove pipe A, what they call pipe A. Of course, we're going to save this here. It's got a little hydraulic fluid on it. Let me clean that off so it doesn't drip too much in my socket set. Now this should come on out now. There we go, look at there. It must have a sleeve on it. Well, it's loose. There it comes. All right. Yeah, I knew it had to have a sleeve on it the way it was not just pulling out. So we got that off, and things are coming along. So far, not too bad. I'm pleasantly pleased with the way things are going. So let's see what's next. It said, after removing pipe A, that because A must be reassembled when assembling the O-ring, when disassembling the O-ring at place where it is existing, hydropipe A assembled should be kept so it's not lost. So we kept those O-rings right there, and of course there's an O-ring on there. Let's see, and there's an O-ring there. Okay, next it says number 2, and then the existing hydropipe B and female adapter must be removed to connect the hydraulic hose assembly P16. So we're going to put the PN16 on there with the nipple PN19 or hydraulic hose assembly RPN20 and connect the pipe 2 to the tractor's hydraulic valve R port. So we'll stop the video and get my hoses together for that. So what we have to do now is remove this one and this one. Okay, so my next dilemma here is when I loosen this bolt, this spins with it. So I've got to find a way to stop that from spinning. On the pipe A, that was not a problem. This was pretty rigid and it unscrewed. But on this B, every time I turn this one counterclockwise, that one just turns with it. So we're gonna have to find a way to hold in that. And I don't want to really remove this one. So we'll see if I have a crescent wrench long enough to reach over both of these to grab that one and see how that works. Okay, so I noticed there was a second clip up here for that rear remote. So I've removed that second clip, which allowed me to remove this piece here and get it out of the way. It gave me more room. And I noticed that because as I was trying to loosen this 19mm nut right here, it slipped and I had a knuckle buster. The joy of being a mechanic, as I pulled that wrench, it hit there. So I have to put a crescent wrench on this nut because that nut is just turning as I turn this nut, which allows the whole thing to just spin. So that obviously is not going to work. So we had to grab a crescent wrench and put on there as I turn this. Now, if you see, that just barely fits in there. Well, as you see, that barely fits in there. And so when I pull this, you'll see that crescent wrench turns, see? So I have to hold that crescent wrench into a position as I turn this. Now I'm only going to turn it once just to loosen it. Then I'm going to take that off and use this end so I don't strip. But I have to start off with this end so I don't strip it out. So I'm going to set the camera down, see if we can get that to work. Don't know how this angle's looking on this camera, but hopefully it'll work. I'm going to turn it this way so I don't bust my knuckles again. There we go, got it. Now we got that out, we can use the other end to get that off. So that was absolutely necessary to get a crescent wrench to stop that from counter turning. Okay, so we'll just remove that pipe B now. And we'll pause the video. So I'm just going to take that out. Take this nut out, pull this end off, and we'll take that nut out and pull that off. Okay, so we've got that nut removed, and we maybe lost 2 ounces of hydraulic fluid. Nothing to get upset or excited about. And now we're going to remove this nut here, and hopefully that nut down underneath doesn't spin. We'll see how that goes. All right, good. So now we'll just continue to remove this so we can get pipe B out of the way. Make sure you keep your gaskets. You'll have to excuse any poor camera work. I have not done this before, so we don't want to lose anything. I'm going to set the camera down and get this out. Okay, now it says that once you get that piece out, that you're going to connect that new assembly into where we just removed B. So now that I've got B out, we've got 2 open spots here. These are vertical, so I'm not too worried about that. But I went ahead and put that bolt in there to prevent any dust from blowing in there while I'm working out here in the outdoors, because we're having some windy weather and I don't want any pine straw to fall into that hydraulic system. So I just put that in there just to seal it until I proceed to the next step. Okay, so when we're installing these new hydraulic pipe fittings, I was running into a little bit of confusion, and then I realized what's going on. So if we look at the part number here in these manuals, those are not correct. But if we look at the item number, the real part number after that slash mark, those are correct. So we have to use these numbers and not the PN numbers, okay? That's issue number 1. The second thing, that I don't have a cab tractor. So I was doing step 2, and step 2 is described, if you look, it says for the ROPS type tractor for step 1, for the cabin type tractor step 1, but when you get to step 2, it doesn't specify what. So I was going through this, and I noticed that some of the things that I was looking at didn't quite actually match what I was looking at as I was transitioning from step 2 to step 3. Now, this is what I have. I have a ROPS type tractor with a hydraulic double valve horizontal. The first time I read this, I must have been on this page, because it said the cabin or ROPS type tractor with the hydraulic double valve vertical. And mine does not look like this. This is the vertical valve. So that was causing me a little confusion. We go back to this picture, and I have the horizontal double valve. So if we look at it here, you can see there's a little cap on the back. I'll call that the cap. Then we have our valves, and there's the top. So here's the top where I put that bolt in that I was talking about, and here's a cap on the back. And this is my hydraulic double valve horizontal. On the other one, it's vertical, and that's for the cabin type, and apparently for some of the ROPS type tractors as well. So we don't need to use this page at all. That's not my system. And we don't need to use this page at all. This is for without a hydraulic double valve. So we're going to be following these steps here and proceed. And as a result of that, I need to use, it says here part number 18. It is not number 18. On mine, it's part number 21. So we're going to use connection pipe number 21, and they call it pipe number 18. So that's the one bit of confusion. And so this is the page. Don't worry about the PN numbers if you get this kit. Use the actual numbers that are following that, and that will help. So we're going to go ahead and this part here is going to go right there, okay? And then we'll mount that and proceed. We also need to mount the hose 51111. They call it part 16. We're gonna get part number 51111. Come over here, 51111. On me, that's part 18. It's actually hose P. So let me find where that goes. They call it 16, and we're gonna look at the picture here. So 16, which is in mine, 1111, 18, and 18 is P. We're gonna connect P to the bottom of this item here. And then the other one, number 17, which is 51121, 51121, that's 19 for me, that's R. R is going to connect to the return. Okay, so that's gonna be my R line, and then this will be my P line. Okay, so you want to take the green gaskets that are out of their O-rings and put them in here when you install this onto that location. Okay, so we got this pipe here. Now we just need to tighten up that bolt that holds this support bracket, and then tighten this up, and that'll be good. And something else, I've heard a lot of people talk about this missing Alamite they can't find it, the Zerk. Well, there's your Zerk for your rear remote, or for your 3-point lift. So I'll hit that while I have this fender off. And of course, you don't want to forget that. That one probably doesn't need it as often as some, but you still want to hit it when you can. And so there's that Zerk that people have a hard time finding. Okay, so when it comes to those gaskets, those little O-rings that you see there, they did actually include some new O-rings with the kit. I don't think that's a critical deal. Also, I like to use a little bit of this thread locker sealant material. I don't want to use Teflon tape on a hydraulic system, and I always put my fittings on before I apply that thread locker, because I don't want to get this into the hydraulic system. And so then I just tighten that up, and we'll put a wrench on it and tighten it up to make sure that's a good seal. We don't want any hydraulic leaks. Okay, so now it says to take the R hose and the nipple PN19. Well, PN19 and my instructions again is a different number. But I was able to figure out by looking at the number at 0606 that is going to be number 14 for me. And so for number 14 right here is this item here, and you can see I'm supposed to have 2 of them, and it was in this bag, and this bag was already open, and there was only 1 of them in there. So I'm a little concerned that I may be missing a part. I thumbed through the pages, and the only other time I see this item number 0606 is right here, and they refer to it as PN12, and PN12 is right there on the valve body. So I looked at my valve body, and it's already on there. So I think I'm good. Somebody has put this together and taken that out of that bag and put it on that valve body. So we are going to proceed and install this here, and then that'll be inserted to right there. Okay, so before we can insert that nipple adapter, we have to remove this female adapter here. Okay, that came out super easy. So now we're just going to screw this one in. And we'll tighten that up. Okay, so we've got that nice and connected. That hose is going to be behind the fender there, so we don't have to worry about the tire. It's going to all clear nicely. And after getting that all mounted, and I did call this a valve body, maybe called a diverter, regardless. So now it's time to reattach pipe A. It says reassemble existing hydraulic pipe A back to its original position. And so that's going to be this. It's going to have to go in here. See if we can, and you want to make sure that you have your O-rings on both sides. So I'm going to try to set this down. My apologies on the camera work. I don't know, can't see the screen. I'm going to try to get this up into here and get this side over on the right, back lined up, and There we go. I'll have to wiggle that in. There he goes. It just went in. And we're going to tighten that back up. So I just got the A back in here. We've got that. I'm just going to put it loose, make sure we have that bolt that we have to put back in. That was on my socket from earlier. So that's going to be this bolt here, has to go back up in there. So we'll feed that through that socket set right up through there. Let's see if we can see it. Right there, right there. I've got an extension here, and we're going to come through these hoses that I was talking about earlier. And then once we get past those hoses, we're going to guide that up into the hole right there. And we want to make sure that we have our connection straight, because we don't want to cross thread this. So I'm just going to do it gently, and hopefully it goes right in. Looks like it's going nice and fine here. If I can, there we go. Now you can see it. And this screw was our bolt was a little longer than I would have thought it would be, but you know, it's got to hold that hydraulics pipe A tight. So there we go. All right, so we're done with up here. I'm going to snug that in and we'll see what's next. Okay, so that was the end of step 3. Let's see step 4. These are with the double valve vertical and without the double valve. We have the double valve horizontal. So that's, all right, so here we go. For cabin, that's vertical. We don't need that one. With vertical, step 5. Well, where's our step 4? Okay, so I don't see step 4 for my tractor. Lovely. Okay, so I'm going to assume that I will run off of the instructions for the hydraulic double valve vertical. There's no directions in this manual for the hydraulic double valve horizontal. So we'll see here. It says diverter valve group 1. That's this picture here. All right, so that's going to be this unit. We'll open this up in a second. Install screw PN 33. Now this is already kind of seems to be assembled here. So, which is to my advantage, to be honest with you. Okay, so it's in this orientation right there. Let's go ahead and take it out. Yeah, that's the orientation, because we got the knobs. I may have it upside down here. Yeah, we do. All right, so it's going to be in this orientation here. Okay, so there's that PN12, which is that nipple I referred to earlier. It's already installed, so that's good. I don't know why this has a socket head in it, and on theirs it does not. But we won't worry about that just yet, and we'll continue and see what happens. I'll update you as I go. Okay, so next we're going to put these screws in, and just to prevent them from coming out, I'm going to put some medium strength Loctite on those threads into this diverter body. Okay, so after looking into the how I'm going to proceed with step 4, I've got to mount this box for the hydraulic diverter to my tractor. And here it says tractor's fixing bracket, and it shows these two holes mounting to the top of that box. That's these two holes right here on the top of my box. But I don't have those holes right here. I've got those out in the front, which is going to put that box too far away from my hydraulic lines. So that means I need to use these two mounts, and these two mounts are on the next page. So there they are right there. So we're going to use the one that says with hydraulic double valve vertical or without hydraulic double valve, when it should be, for me, with the hydraulic double valve horizontal. So that may be a typo because they've got the vertical in there twice. Okay, so there's hydraulic vertical step 4.1. Here's step 4.2. So anyway, we're going to proceed with this mounting position. Okay, so I've installed my box onto those brackets right there. All right, we'll see what's next. Okay, so next we put this rubber thing on the back of here, and we're going to insert this into here. And then use these lock nushers and bolts to secure that to that bracket right there. So you'll have to excuse my lighting here as we adjust this. Okay, on the P line, you need the curved end over here to make it through and out of this box properly. And the booklet shows a curved end on both ends, but it's straight on this side. So put the straight end on your tractor end, and then the curved end over here. Also, be careful about the order that you tighten these in, because you don't want to be wrenching on this the way it's mounted on. So you have to have room to get a secondary wrench, so you're not stressing the diverter when you tighten these fittings up. Don't want to get it in the hole, just on the outside. And we'll just tighten these up. And then the R for our return line comes in the back, and it'll connect right there. So we have the power beyond, the return, then the A, and the B. All right, and something else, whenever I add thread locker sealant, I never put it on the female end, which pushes it into the line. I always put it on the male end. I've been told that Teflon tape will really tear up your hydraulic system, but that this stuff here, because it's not a fibrous material, when it's threaded, it actually supposedly can be broken down by hydraulic fluid. However, I don't know if that's true or not, so I only put it on the male end. That way it's pushed out of the hydraulic system instead of into the hydraulic system. Okay, done here. Now this return line was a little bit hard to tighten up. I hope I got it tight enough. If not, I'll have to take the 4 bolts off the back of this to loosen this diverter up so I can tighten that down a little bit more. But I've got it pretty snug, and we've got everything done here, so for now. Okay, so when I tightened these up, you can do them as long as you do them all in order. But if you put them in and then try to tighten them up, the fittings are going to be in the way of each other. So put them in order. Make sure I forgot the order that I did it. I think I started with the bottom, and then I was able to get all of them tight except for this one up here. There wasn't enough room to do this wrenching action to get that one tight. You go up one way and then you turn it and go the other way, and you can slowly work your way into it. But by the time I was done, the head of the wrench in this area was just too thick for me to get enough rotation on there to even flip it over and come in from the other side. So I wasn't able to get this one snug. So what I did is I just went to Tractor Supply and I can't remember if it's 21 or 22 millimeters, but regardless, it's the same size. This here is the same size as a 7/8. And so I just got a cheap $10 7/8 wrench, and I ground on my belt sander this down and this down to make that thin enough that it would fit in there, and I could do a turn. And once I got it turned, then I could turn it over and get the next turn. With the full diameter and support on your wrench, I wasn't able to turn it far enough to flip it over and rotate it again. So I just got a little cheap $10 wrench, and you know, somebody might say, well, you ruined that wrench. You know what, so what? It's a $10 wrench, who cares? And if I ever need a wrench in the future, odds are that little area is gonna be stronger than what I can push with my hand anyway. The only way I'm gonna probably break that is with a cheater pipe. So that allowed me to get these fittings all snug. So the next step is to exchange the joystick. And it says to remove the rubber boot. From the base of the joystick to attach the new one. And so that's what we're fixing to do. And mine didn't have a rubber boot, so I don't know if it's because mine's a 2018, which is a couple years older, but otherwise we'll keep on going. Okay, so we got those 2 bolts out of the joystick, and there she just slips right off. Hopefully here, let's see. There she comes. Oh, there we go. All right, so we'll just put the new joystick on. Okay, so we got the new joystick mounted. I zip tied the line for the remote down. You're supposed to plug this in to this next line, which goes to these plugs that go onto the diverter. There's 2 of them. I just uncovered them, took them out. So things are progressing nicely. No problems except for crappy instructions. Okay, so to prevent there from being any stress on this, I'm going to zip tie that up here somewhere so it'll be out of the way. And then this wire housing, it comes down in here, and you've got these 2 plugs, but it doesn't say which one goes on which side. So there's 2 of them, and so one's going to be for open, one's going to be for close. If I don't like the finger operation, these will just be switched. Okay, another annoying thing, this plug is supposed to go right here, but they've got this too angled. You can't get it in. So, and they had that installation step before this installation step. This L90 here should be a little more vertical to get it out of the way of the plug. So I'm gonna have to adjust that. Okay, so even with the hydraulic line disconnected, there's still not room there to get that fitting on. So this definitely needed to be more vertical. So I'm gonna have to try to turn that, and I hope I don't have to take this whole valve diverter out of the frame to turn that to a more vertical position. So I put a cap on that and turned it back a little bit, and the plug will fit now. So I'm going to reconnect my hydraulic line and then put that fitting on there. I would like for that fitting to be able to go on and off of there with that connected, because if I want to flip them, I want to be able to. Okay, so we've got all that clear, and there's screws here to secure these points. If I don't like them, I'll flip them. Now that I've got room to get that in and out. And we put the thread locker stuff back on these threads, so they should all be sealed, and they're all fairly tight, so wish me luck as we proceed. Okay, so if you have it backwards, which I did, you just flip these 2. You want the inside one to be closed and the outside one to be open. And the reason why I say that is, at first I thought, you know, I had it right because the inside was closed, or excuse me, I had the inside open and the outside closed. And closed being going down, you would think you'd want the close on the outside, which is the down function or dump function, and the open or up on the inside, which is the roll back function. But you don't. You want it the way they have it in the manual. The manual shows this one as the close and this one as the open. And the reason you want this one as the open is because when you go to the dump, that's when you're going to open. And when you go to the lift, that's when you're going to close. So you want the close on the lift side or the roll back, and you want the dump or open on the roll forward or dump side. And so I had to flip these around because I had them backwards. Okay, so I got another issue. If you, right here, I have the TC200 ROPS. I was finally able to figure that out because every time I found a section that worked for my tractor, it was the TC200. Well, that means this wire is supposed to be routed around this this male plug. It looks like a female from the outside, but the plug itself is actually male. It's supposed to be routed around and go up to this section for the 200 ROPS right there. And that means I'm supposed to have a plug above the rear right tire, a female plug that fixes into. Well, it's not this one because this goes to the blinker and whatnot on the fender and tail light, and this goes to my rear light. That was supposed to be a female plug, so unfortunately that has been removed. Okay, so I need one of each of these two-way plugs. Okay, so we had to flip the connections to get my grapple open and close functions the way I want them to be and the way the manual recommends, which is close on the inside and open on the outside, which I thought would be backwards, but it actually makes sense intuitively because open is the dump and you want the dump on the dump side, so it makes sense actually. Also, before you connect and also before you disconnect, you want to make sure you have your key in the accessory position and relieve the pressure in these diverter lines, so that'll make connecting and disconnecting a lot easier when there's no pressure in the attachment or on the tractor side. So we're connected. Throw that out the way. And we're gonna just pick up this big stump over here. Very large diameter, not very long. It's heavy oak.